Guru Nation, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. Really means a lot to me. Yes, this is a Lakers hat. I am officially back to being a Laker fan now with Luka Doncic. Just had to get that out there. Clippers have been very disappointing this last half a decade or more, ever since the Blake Griffin era. That was the last time I was excited about that. People have been asking, the longtime Guru Nation that I've been following have been asking about my sports affiliations, and really, other than San Francisco 49ers and the Anaheim Angels, and of course, University of Arizona Wildcats, I have no loyalty really. I wear the hats that I like to wear. I that's I wear team logos that I don't even like the team necessarily. I just like the way it looks. And I'm an avid hat collector. Actually, one of my goals for the future is to combine really four passions of mine into one, and that would be having obviously like a legit podcasting studio, and then combining that with a bookstore. You guys, Guru Nation knows I love me some reading. Uh, so combine a podcast studio with a bookstore, a hat store, and a coffee shop. If I could pull all those off in one place, my life is set. That's goals for me. And surprisingly, it's not that far away. It's not that difficult to accomplish. So, just a quick sidebar for I've been getting lots of questions lately from Guru Nation. Why are you wearing a different hat every day? By the way, stay tuned. We're gonna have merchandise on my YouTube channel or just Guru Nation in general. You'll have links even if you're listening on the podcast. We're gonna have merch. We're gonna have cool designs, cool brands. I promise I won't have dog hairs like I do now on my shirts when I sell them. But okay, when you get two questions that are seemingly unrelated, but you can connect them, it's going to help everyone in the process. So I got one question from someone. This is a career seeker. It's actually probably better to start out with the site owner question. So one of the questions pertains to site owners. The other question pertains to people that want to get their their break in clinical research, want to get started in research. So the site owner left a comment on a post. It said, "Hey, site owner, fellow site owner here in South Florida, it's really tough getting more than 1 to 2 studies at a time. Anything we can do?" So I have a 30-minute video on how to get studies for your site. There's a couple things here for this particular case. Like competition is important, competition matters. Being in South Florida, not gonna help you. However, some of our best sites, so Chris and I own a consulting firm that helps sites get studies, do their budgets, create eSource, shoulder to cry on, whatever the case may be. And we have Florida clients just like we have clients everywhere else. And some of our best, meaning most profitable clients, are in South Florida. So you may hear all this stuff about, well, South Florida, too much competition, blah, blah, blah. But some of the most profitable research centers and some of the most well-run research centers are actually in Florida. So it's possible if somebody looks like you, talks like you, walks like you, smells like you, does well, you should be able to do well too. And don't just look at the negatives. So that was the site owner question slash complaint. And then I got another one. I think it was like the same day or it may have been the day before, but they are a CMA, which is a certified medical assistant, I believe. I love medical assistants. I'm currently getting my bachelor's of science in biology, excuse me. I only have 1 year left of school, but I'm trying to find opportunities to get into clinical research before I graduate. I've had my CMA, so I'm assuming it's certified medical assistant, for 1.5 years, and I've worked in a clinic 3 to 4 months. What would you recommend as next steps for me moving forward? And I'm assuming that clinic is not clinical research, it's just a regular private practice. What do I recommend for you? I recommend a couple of things. One, You reach out to the owner of your clinic and you introduce the topic of research. Just, you can even be humble about it. Say, hey, this is obviously out of my pay grade, but I've been following this crazy guy on YouTube, and he wears all these different fitted hats and says some crazy shit, but he keeps talking about private practices doing clinical research. And have you ever considered that? And maybe you can be the clinical research ambassador to your own workplace. Now, that's obviously the most ideal situation is they say yes, absolutely. I believe this person's name was Hannah. Absolutely, Hannah. That's a great idea. How about you run this thing? And yes, that's a long shot, probable out that's a long shot of a possible outcome, but it's an outcome that can happen. Like that to me is the craziest part about life, about entrepreneurship. Because if you were to go that path, you're essentially becoming more of an entrepreneur at that point. But let's step back. More likely, they're not going to want to do it. They're going to say, "Thank you, Hannah. Stay in your lane." I don't think you'd get reprimanded. And if you did, that's not a place you want to work anyways. But if they were interested in extra revenue streams to their clinic, they would possibly ask you what you know about it. Like, do you want to learn this stuff? You clearly know more than we do. You can essentially make yourself the coordinator, right? And why not? It's worth a shot. Just tell them, hey, um, I'll help find the studies. I'll run the studies as the coordinator. I'm gonna get my bachelor's in a year. It works well because I can continue working here afterwards. That's honestly what I would do, Hannah. I know it sounds crazy, but in hindsight, like at the time, if I were you, without knowing what I know now, I would think it's crazy too, and I wouldn't do it. But knowing what I know now, that was essentially me 20 years ago, although not a MA. But that's kind of the route I took. Like, let's do this, What do we have to lose? So, what do you have to lose? Try that. Now, if they say yes, you got to do your homework. You got to start figuring out how to get studies. You got to figure out how to be a coordinator. I would watch my 4-hour video on the basics of clinical research, and then I would watch videos on how to get studies for your PI, your investigator. If they say no, or if they brush you off, or if they're politely decline and say, no, Hannah, not something we want to do. There's a lot of competition in Florida. I want you, Hannah, to do this next thing. The site owner that asked the question earlier, we are in South Florida. It's hard to get studies. This is a common site owner problem. Most site owners have a hard time getting studies coming their way unless they've developed a very solid reputation, the majority of which do not have that. Even Yuma Clinical Trials, we've only been around 4 years. I would like to say we have a solid reputation. I think we do for some sponsors, but we're still having issues getting studies. I would like to see more studies than what we have. You can find sites in your area, Hannah, that you don't need to convince them to do research. They've already made that choice on their own. You don't need to educate them on what clinical research is. They already know that. You can approach them and say, "Hey, I'm getting my bachelor's in a year. I'm working as a CMA at a private practice, but I would like to get into clinical research before I graduate. Can I intern here? Is it possible I work part-time to help you guys get studies?" Look, if you're a CMA, like if you know how to draw blood, because not every CMA does, but if you know how to draw blood, run an IV, administer injections, do vitals, there's a real need at research clinics for that kind of work. And you can combine that with your passion for helping small sites get more studies, where you would have to go out of your way to learn the process. And again, I have a video on that on my channel. Or you can just go to my website if it's easier. I have tons of videos. So just go on my website, theclinicaltrialsguru.com, click on open a clinic, and just watch like all that stuff and figure it out. That's what I would do. And if you're in a big market, like if you are in Miami, how cool would it be if you actually ran into that previous commenter's question of being in South Florida? And I have no idea where you are, Hannah, but that would be like extra cool if you were in South Florida because there's hundreds of research clinics there. But I'm guessing if you're in a major market, there's dozens of research sites. So just go in person. Go in person with this pitch. Somebody today, I told them they made my day, which they actually did. They said 3 years ago they reached out to me. They wanted career advice. Let me read. This is cool. Let me read her question from June 30th, 2022. Right now it's February 5th, 2020. Sorry, I have a newborn, so I'm kind of sleep deprived, but this was almost 3 years ago. So, hope you're doing well. Your videos have been super helpful. I need some career advice. I moved to Canada from India last month, and I'm looking for an opportunity in Canada, but I have some concerns on getting through the interviews. I have more than 5 years of experience in research in India. I began my journey as a CRA at a pharma company in India. I've done GI, I've done diabetes, I've done derm. Then I moved to another city in India where I worked as a coordinator. So this is a CRA and a coordinator at a small SMO, done oncology, infectious disease, global studies. After that, I got a chance to work at a small CRO doing vaccines. I've been applying here in Canada for CRA roles, and I get some interviews, but I was rejected based on not having Canadian experience. So my question is, how do I get experience here? I've applied to CRC positions, but with no luck. In the meantime, I'm preparing for the SOCR exam, but it doesn't include Canadian regulations. What would you recommend? And it goes on further. I said, listen, you got a network. I pointed her in the direction of someone I knew in Canada. I said, you got a network with this person. Their group for researchers is actually Kim McDonald Taylor is the group for researchers. If anyone needs introduction to her, message me. She said, okay, I did previously. And then I told her, I sent her she inspired me to do a tweet that day. And I said, I don't care what industry you're in. If you need more opportunities, what you need to have are more relationships in that industry, not more certifications or degrees. And she said, thank you so much. I wanted to get back to you. Just wanted to thank you for your help. I got hired at a CRO. Thank you once again. And then she reached out to me today and said, hey, I just read one of your posts. It's hard to believe it's been almost 3 years. Your guidance helped, it made an impact on me personally and professionally. So the point of reading all that is if you don't get out of your comfort zone, you're just gonna get mediocre results. Like if you just do what everyone else does, and I don't care if you're a site owner or if you're somebody that wants to work for somebody else or if you're a vendor, if you do the same things everyone else does, there's nothing necessarily special about you. That's you basically are admitting that you are a commodity. And what happens with commodities? They get priced down, they get competed out, technology comes in, they make radical dynamic changes to the pricing structure, and then you're irrelevant. We want to prevent that from happening to everyone watching and listening these videos and podcasts. So you got to go out there. You got to go do what other people refuse to do. So if you are this medical assistant, you need to create the opportunities for yourself. There's no, I wish I could tell you, yeah, go take ACRP, go take a SOCR certification. Somebody else reached out to me, similar comment, which one's better? I don't know. They're both the same, but I think ACRP is slightly more recognized and bigger. Like, but point is, everyone's doing that. What makes you unique? What makes you stand out? What makes you, like I did a few videos ago, a clinical research rock star in your niche? And it's creating memorable moments for people in the industry for when they think about a certain problem, they see you as a solution. So here's an MA about to get a bachelor's who I think would make a perfect coordinator, beyond perfect coordinator, maybe one day even a CRA, maybe even one day a site owner who has the opportunity to create her own path and not wait on a job on Indeed, some posting on Indeed. Do those two anyways. You got nothing to lose. But look within the very clinic that you are at. Just start there. If nothing else, expect that they're going to say no, they're not interested. But thank you, Hannah, for thinking about this. You're going to get practice. And then you approach other clinics that actually do research in your area and tell them, hey, I understand, getting studies for sites is hard. I understand maybe you may need help, extra set of hands getting blood draws or vitals. I'm here to help. Like, let me work part-time. I'm gonna get my bachelor's in a year. I really want to work in this industry. Any job you have, anything I can help, let me do it. That's the way I would go about it. Now, if you're a site owner, this is also what I think you need to do. You need to be willing to find people like Hannah that are dedicated to nothing else but business development and then patient recruitment and then whatever else the case may be, quality assurance. But in your case, as the site owner, it's getting consistent studies coming through. And what the big site networks do is they invest in full-time business development people. So just learn from the big site networks. They go to every conference. Yeah, they have money to do so. They have time to do so. And a small site owner is not going to have that. But if you can try to replicate a little bit at least of what these bigger site networks do, it's really constant networking. It's the same advice I gave the LinkedIn commenter. Get out of your comfort zone. Go do things that go do things that other people refuse to do. I'm gonna read my tweet from 3 years ago. I don't care what industry you're in. If you need more opportunities, what you need to have are more relationships in that industry, not more certifications or degrees. Come to Save Our Sites conference in March. If you're watching this after March of 25, come to our next Save Our Sites meetup in a town near you. Just go to saveoursites.com. Join the ACRP local chapter meetups in your area, in your community. Network with monitors. Network monitors sometimes look for sites. Network with people. Go out, be on LinkedIn. I hate to sound like a broken record. Experiment with Inato, one of my sponsors. Inato is a free place for sites to get studies. You seem like you have an experienced PI or two. Inato would actually be good for you. Now, again, South Florida has its own set of problems. And so, if anything, you're a site owner in South Florida, you need to do even extra work to stand out. It's not fair. It's just the way it is. You're going to have to do way more work in South Florida to stand out than I would ever have to do here in Yuma, Arizona. Why? Because competition, supply and demand. But doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Good things happen when you make efforts and you make strategic efforts consistently. It's like chopping wood. You get the axe, you start hitting the piece of wood. I just did this Christmas. It's hard. You keep chopping at it. Make sure you strike in the same place. Make sure that crack gets bigger, gets wider. Pretty soon, you're one strike away from splitting that log. It's the same thing with BizDev or any other outcome you want. It's consistent. It's sweaty. I got blisters on my hands from doing that. You need people on your side to help you, like Hannah. Find you a Hannah. When I was back in the day at my site, one of my first sites, I hired commission-only business development person. Hey, I need you all day to just go on clinicaltrials.gov and find me studies. Now we do that for sites. We have a consulting service. But I would find people that are talented in your area, that are hungry, that are looking to get into research. As a site owner, you have a lot going for you, even in a competitive place like Florida. You have people wanting to get in the industry. You can have an internship opportunity that leads to a full-time or a part-time position. Make it a biz dev role. Clearly, it's not getting done. I would guess it's because the owners don't have enough time to focus on just biz dev. There's a lot that goes into running a site. So anyways, I just wanted to connect a bunch of unrelated comments together and show you that they actually are connected and that we are all one, if you believe in the philosophy of the universe as one. We are all collective consciousness. Let me know what you think, Guru Nation, but it's good to think this way too. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Good luck to everyone. Let me know if I missed anything. Bye bye.